Hello, 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 and welcome everyone to Moving Mountains. Today we have this amazing woman. She is a daughter of a real estate developer and a general contractor. She is a financial services registered principal and representative, and she does a bunch of other things for her community, and she lives in California. So you're definitely going to want to reach out to her if you have any kind of need of any of her services. And she is an amazing woman, and we're going to get to know her a little bit today. And so I'm just so excited to definitely highlight her and everything that she's doing. And Monica, definitely, what can you tell us that we don't already know?
Yes, great question. So for me, we're going to talk a little bit about leadership today. I read a lot of leadership and personal development books. So I started with the Four Agreements, which I think is the foundation for how you just treat people in general, whether you're in business or not. So if you haven't read that one, please check it out. And then as I started my career in finance, I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is a classic from 1920s, written by a metaphysicist. So it's not an easy read, but one of my favorite takeaways from that book is you are the master when you've completed 10,000 hours of anything. So I'm just going to ask, what are you focusing your 10,000 hours on? Are you focusing that on video games? Are you focusing that on Netflix? Are you going to be the master of Netflix? I mean, so for me, yeah, I mean, I like to think I'm the master of my mind. I like to think I'm the master of spiritual and personal development. And the only way to become the master is to read more books and to practice, because if you're not practicing what you're reading in the books, then what are you reading them for? You're not changing the world, you're just reading a book. And that's great. I mean, at least you're doing that over watching Netflix. But the reality is, yeah, the 10,000 hour thing is what makes you the master. And putting that hours in towards something that actually benefits the planet is a better choice, because we can't just sit on the couch and read a book and hopefully change the world that way. We actually have to implement that knowledge. So yeah, knowledge is powerful, but the implementation of knowledge is really what makes you money and gets you going in this world. So that's a big thing I've learned about leadership and perpetuating yourself forward. Another thing I always like to mention talking about leaders is they're quite frequently only remembered when they go through troubled times or accomplish great things in those troubled times. I think what people need to realize is leaders don't run away from adversity. They actually embrace adversity. So a lot of those leaders that are going through troubled times that are winning the day, it's because they were actually looking for that. They were okay with taking on a challenge, right? They didn't run away from it. And part of the reason I read the personal and self development books is because it is really difficult not to be the ostrich and stick your head in the hole when something bad happens. And I think all of us are human on this podcast, right? All of us have experienced something incredibly traumatic where it's like, I just don't want to deal with it. Like, can't this just go away? And unfortunately, life doesn't get any easier. You have to get better. Right. And so that's part of what a leader thinks about when they're up against something that's extremely difficult. Finally, we seek out counsel. So when I'm having a problem and I know somebody in my network that knows how to deal with it better than me, I go to them. I'm like, hey, can we have coffee? Let's talk about this. And they drop knowledge and insight on me, and I'm never ashamed to bring my problems to people I love and trust and care about, because that's not hanging out your dirty laundry. That's actually asking for help. And leaders ask for help. So I think that, those are things that I want to share with you all that maybe you didn't realize yet or you didn't know, to be able to bridge that gap between, becoming an employee to becoming an entrepreneur, or becoming, a mom or a dad or a teacher or an engineer. Like, there has to be a way for you to be able to build that bridge out of where you're currently at into where you want to go. And the only way to do that is to acquire some leadership skills, because, people aren't going to get you there unless you ask them for help, right? I didn't attract any mentors in my life unless I was willing to attract that, right? And I ask for their help. And so, yeah, that's what kind of moves me forward in my life. And I really hope that that inspires and helps some of you.
Yeah, I definitely know that it will. There's just so many people that need to hear those words because they don't know how to be, they don't know how to be within themselves. Like, they don't know how to they don't know who to be. And so they have that identity issue sometimes. And so they need that leadership. They need that mentor. They need, someone, we were not created to be alone. We are social beings for a reason. And so that's amazing advice that I know that's going to help every one of my students. And I know that anybody who watches this on YouTube as well, definitely be inspired and empowered to definitely ask for help. Nobody can read your mind. Nobody knows what you're feeling. Nobody knows anything about anything you don't tell them about. So nobody can help you if you don't ask. And so that's definitely such a amazing wisdom. I know that we met, I was trying to figure out how we met. I don't know if it was on Facebook or
I'm
um,
pretty sure it was. Yeah, you reached out and that made me feel really special. Thanks for checking out the profile.
yeah, I mean, for anybody out there that doesn't know, I mean, I am constantly on social media. And I'm constantly on it to look for people to highlight, to look for people that I feel my viewers and my subscribers need to hear and see. And the reason why I look for those people is because I look for the people that are maybe they're unseen, unheard, or maybe they just don't get enough media footage, or they don't get enough highlight, nobody highlights their life. And I do it because I love to support people. I love to have people get resources that they need. I don't live in California. You do. I'm actually from California. Shout out
Yes,
to West Covina. Woo!
love it.
My brother lives in Fallbrook area, and so I visit once in a while. But I love California. It's beautiful. I just, my home is in Arkansas now. This is where I had my son and where I fell in love with my husband. So it's kind of hard to leave a place that holds so many good memories. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll make it over there someday. But at the moment, Arkansas is definitely where I love to be, love to spend time with. And there's just nothing like not having to sit in 2 hour traffic.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
But
Yeah, and I know like you wanted me to kind of highlight a little bit of my background coming from a real estate dad because that's a lot of the work you do. So my dad was a general contractor and a builder, and he built 3 apartment complexes and a primary home that we currently own. And I've had a lot of spiritual moments. My dad died 6 years ago, unfortunately, due to prostate cancer, right on the nose as he turned 70, which is fairly young to die. So it definitely was like a huge growing up moment for me, as is, I'm sure, getting married and having a kid was for you. And the funny thing about becoming an adult is there's no handbook, right? Like, I'm not more of an adult, nor are you more of an adult because we've had different adulting experiences, right? And so I've just had to constantly remind myself when people come at you and they don't understand what you're going through, just remember you might have nicer adult socks than they do or bigger ones, and that's maybe why they're upset because they just don't get why you're sad or whatever. So for me, in the memory of my dad, part of the reason I use, his credibility in part of my intro is because I want people to know that I am a big believer in generation to generation wealth transfer. My dad came here from Portugal at 16 with like $15 in his pocket and was like, I'm going to make sure I'm a millionaire when I die. And so I'm really grateful that he broke the glass ceiling for us because not only did he have an immigrant wife to take care of, he had 3 daughters, right? Which is really expensive. Ladies are expensive, right? I got my hair done today. It wasn't cheap. So he wanted to make sure that, we weren't going to be at a disadvantage because we're women, right? We unfortunately make less money than men in this country. So he knew that, he tried to tell me that at a really early age. And part of me didn't want to hear it. I don't know if I was ready to hear it as a kid, but I also know my dad had me at 40 and was trying to be real with me. And so for me, it's like I'm really grateful that I came from somebody that had that kind of vision, that was an entrepreneur, that put me to school so I could get a good job, right? And then realized there are no good jobs. You got to be an entrepreneur. So like I hated to do that to him, but I did it with all the love of my heart at the same time. It's not like, I dropped out or didn't go. It was more like I'm gonna go and then I'm going to figure out what's on the other side. And for me, 9 to 5, clock in, clock out just wasn't a life I was willing to live, every day the same. No, no, I'm a big service person. I'm a big family person. I was raised by an amazing family, couple. They were big on family and they took us all over the place. We went many, many different places. I was a young traveler, international traveler, because we have international family. I'm very grateful for that because that made me tough. Like one of the things I like to tell people, if you're going to go on a trip with me, you buy the ticket, you ride the ride. It's a Hunter S. Thompson quote, like no complaining. Okay. Like shenanigans are going to happen on vacation. It's just part of the deal. And you have to figure out how to overcome it because you're not the only person who's ever lost their passport on a vacation. You're not the only person who had money stolen from them on a vacation. Like that happens. And so if you're going to have a huge meltdown about it and cancel the trip and go home, like that's going to be really hard for me to deal with. So those are things I discuss on the front end before ever leaving the country, let alone the state, with anybody. And that has a lot to do with leadership right there, because leaders overcome. And again, these are things that my dad taught me, and I'm so grateful for that. So on top of that, being a landlord it's not the easiest job in the world, but it is a great way to have passive income and be able to take care of your family when you're not here anymore. You got to have some kind of liquidity set aside and manage it, obviously, because if not, you can't ATM your rentals. People figure that out real quick. Slumlord is a thing, folks. So you got to be making sure you're setting up your money correctly. You can give people back their security deposits. You're not putting turnover on a credit card. We actually have to like work to maintain the liquidity we do have outside of the rentals. And that's part of why I started working in finance, was because I was always curious how to make money grow faster, not give it all to the bank because the bank isn't returning anything, quite frankly. It's just flatlining over there. So we just have to figure out how to work around that because, again, you can't just buy a bunch of rentals and real estate and think, I'm going to win at life. It's like, yeah, that's a great foundation, but to grow like a family or a business outside of rentals, you need to have liquidity. So I'm really grateful that these things are all, at the fingertips of entrepreneurism. Like all these things go together. And, my dad was a really intelligent man. He did go to business college in Europe before immigrating to the US and learning English. So he knew, a lot of things about business. He didn't totally know how the American finance system worked. Maybe that's kind of how he needed and wanted me. My parents were making me fill out their paperwork since the dawn of time. I did not realize that was a training ground, my friend, but it definitely is. So if you're patient and you're good with people and you're good with paperwork, those are the kinds of people I'm looking for out there in the universe to come work with us. Aside from that, we really have a lot of fun together as a family. My mom has pretty much been retired since she married my dad at 27. And she kind of actually had to come out of retirement when my dad died. And she reminds me of that all the time. But I'm going to safely get her there in the next year or two. And so we've been working really hard on how to downsize her, which is tricky, right? Nobody wants to leave their primary home till they're ready. And also talk about, what's to come in the future, like fun family projects, like solar panels on the house, having a floating dock for the family pond, like things that really only the imagination can create first before you're able to call in the money to do. Does that make sense?
That really does, and I resonate with that a lot because, I'm first generation born citizen and I had to, just like you, fill out a lot of my mom's paperwork because she didn't know the language. And even if she did know the language, she didn't know the lingo. She didn't know, oh, what does that mean? I know that what that word means, but in this setting, what does that mean? And so, I had to struggle with that as well. Thankfully, I'm the youngest of six, so I didn't have to do it as much, but I did still have to do it. Um, so I was just excited to definitely learn. I think that's definitely how I learned how to be a leader because I had to lead my mom. I had to lead her not only when it came to the language, but also to have her understand why certain things happen the way that they do, because this isn't her country. Like this isn't where she's was raised. And so there was just so much that was going on that she was totally unaware of unless I told her, unless one of my siblings told her, unless she actually tried to read about it. And of course, she didn't know how to read English at the time. Now she's learning English a lot more and can doesn't need us as much, but she still always asks me, hey, can you read this letter for me? Again, because she loves, I think she just likes to spend time with us. And even if she knows what it's saying, I think she just wants us to make sure she got it right. I think it's a big thing when immigrants come here and they come to unknown. Everything is unknown to them. They don't know anything about this place. They don't know anything about the language. They don't know about why this person is doing this, and so it's just pretty
Yeah, they're
awesome.
like a new bay in the woods. They're like, what's
Yeah,
happening here? Yeah.
it really is. It really is. And so I mean, leadership is something that I had to learn very, very young. And now I'm just thankful for it because not everybody has that opportunity to, exercise what it means to be a leader. So, you know, my, so yeah, but I'm super, yeah, when it comes to being an immigrant, there's just, I can go on. Like I can go on for a long time because it's being a child of an immigrant is definitely unique. You get a unique experience. And so one of my questions is, what is your favorite moment as being a child of an immigrant?
Oh my gosh, this is a good one. This is a really good one because this involves a huge life lesson. So I had a high school science teacher who was incredibly sexist, and it was brutal. It was to the point where it was like, how does your wife and daughters not murder you in the middle of the night? Like, so it was just like, how do you deal with that as a 15, 16-year-old girl, right? It's a minority too, to boot, because this man was, not an immigrant, definitely American. And so I decided in my rebellion, it was like, if he saw women talking in class, he'd be like, break up the quilting corner. But if men were talking in class, he would allow it, he'd just talk over them. And so I was like, okay, I was a punk rocker when I was young. I was very rebellious. So I was like, I'm just going to walk out of his class. Then he's going to figure it out. If I just get up, mean mug him, and walk out the door, he's eventually going to realize how disgustingly rude he's being. So I would go home, and this is like my senior year where in my high school, if you had enough credits, you didn't have to take 6 classes. You could have a free class. Most seniors opted for the morning or for the last class because then you wouldn't have to wake up as early or you could go home early, right? Well, I just would go home and my parents would be like, what are you doing? And I'd be like, oh, I have a free class. And they bought it for a while, right? They bought it for a while. And then when I got a report card and I had like a D in my science class, they were like, we're gonna have to talk about this. And so they were like, what's going on? Like, you're not gonna go to college with a D on your report here, you're gonna like drop the class, you're gonna retake it, what's going on? And I like explained to them what was happening, and they were horrified. They were shocked. And they were like, well, we're gonna definitely have a conversation with him about it, but we need you to know that walking out is clearly not working, right? You might be sending him a message, but he's sending you one right back. So, and I felt like, it was the one time my parents really had my back on a subject that I just wasn't even really talk to them about. Like, it was just kind of like, when you face stuff like that at home, it's easier to talk to your parents about it than if a random adult is doing that to you, right? And my parents like went to the school and they told the school, our daughter is experiencing this. We're really concerned. She can't be the only one. And we just want to have a face to face with this man because we just feel like it's horrific that he's calling women like dim light bulbs and like doing stuff that's just not good. And so the school like let my parents talk to him. They weren't rude to him about it, but they were like, look, we run a really tight household with our 3 daughters. We're really strict with them. Okay, we don't allow them to say certain things to us, and what you're saying to our daughter, we would never say to her. And you just need to know that, because it's okay for you to say that to your daughter and your wife, but it's not okay to say that to our daughter. And you need to really think about that, because you're disrupting our family dynamics by doing that. You're teaching our daughter to be silent, and the only way that she can get out of your abuse is to leave your presence, and that's not okay. Like, that is going to cause a runaway situation where she's just going to walk out on everybody who ever upsets her, and nobody's going to win doing that. Like, you actually do have to have some kind of confrontation to ever get to a solution. And so I think that was like a really great thing, and I'm so grateful that my parents stood up for me, and didn't get mad at me that I was playing the "you don't know any better" card on them, because they didn't go to American high school, right? They didn't know like I could have a free period in the middle of the day. They had no idea, and that's why they put up with it for a while. But when the results were not, what they wanted, they were like, "Oh, let's go back to that free period thing you've been doing. How's that working out?" So super grateful, and I just, really, really love them. I feel like I had some of the greatest parents in trying to teach me what it was like to be an adult, without, tearing me apart or making me feel bad about a decision I was making to protect my mind, quite frankly. We can't let garbage into our head. People don't pay rent to live here, folks. Okay. So if that's the case, you need to let go of them. You need to let them out. You need to figure out a way to make them disappear. I don't care if it's like meditation where you're cutting the cord or you're just blocking their number. However you want to do it is up to you. I mean, I've done a variety of things and I don't like kicking people out of my life, but you also have to figure out how to not let them rent the space in your head.
Yeah, that's awesome because, so many people allow certain relationships to linger on for like years and they're super unhappy. And that's to me, growing up around so many different types of people, because my mom's an ordained minister, it was hard to see people make bad choices, honestly. Just to see them make bad choices when it comes to their mental health, when it comes to what is beneficial to them, when it comes to keeping their peace, when it comes to, you know, what really is important in life. I mean, what's the point of having a pillow or a bed if you can't dream? What's the point of you having a house if you don't have a home? Those types of things that my mom kind of taught all of us from a very early age. Money isn't everything. And so, my last question definitely is, what would you say to someone that is super successful, but they're still unhappy? And, how would you be able to give them a little bit of hope of how that they could reach that quote unquote happiness?
Sure. I think happiness is a choice, but it also starts with your personal connection to higher power, nature, the universe, God, however you say that. Everybody's different. And I'm not trying to say like you need to go to church, but I am trying to say like find what makes you happy. For a lot of people, it's as simple as mushroom hunting in the woods. They don't need to go to church to do that. That makes them happy. That like brings their whole peace and energy together. Other people, it's camping or fishing or dancing or swimming. Whatever your thing is, make sure you're doing that at least once a week, if not 3 to 4 times a week, because that's going to bring in some kind of, interconnection. And then also, I really, spend a lot of time thinking about how life is a puzzle and how it really is here to unfold in front of you. And your job is to really put the puzzle pieces together. And some people call that networking or business building. I like to call it, the life labyrinth, if you will. It's like we're all traveling through this time and space energy. And I personally believe that we all agreed to come here, right? This isn't like a mistake that we're here. And so while you're here, what you do actually matters. Like there's so many times where the universe has shown me how we touch somebody from our past now 20 years later and into the future. It's so amazing how the inner web of life is connected, and that truly brings me the happiness. And then the only reason I'm able to find that happiness is because I know these things, I live these things, I see these things, right? So really thinking about what you're living, breathing, eating, what are you doing when you're not around other people. And then what are you doing, what are you thinking about. Like I have to reframe a lot of things in my life that are negative, and I'm like, well, good news is they found somewhere to go. Good news is, I'm moving on. Like whatever the narrative is, just change it. That way you don't get so stuck in them draining you or you draining yourself, like however you want to see it. And then lastly, I think having a vision for your life, like I do a vision board every year, and I have a big vision right now on getting my health goals in order. And I was very athletic when I was younger, and I really enjoyed playing golf and tennis in high school, and I'd like to get back to that. And I've been quite out of shape to play tennis or even golf for quite some time. So I've been really sprinkling a lot of that more into my life. And the other day I said to my sister, when I'm 60, I'm going to be like really banging in that tennis skirt, and I'm gonna be playing tennis and playing golf, and everyone's gonna be like so shocked, and I'm gonna be like, well, I was overweight most of my life, and at the end I decided to get sexy, and it's gonna be great. So really having that vision for my life brings me happiness, and I know it put a huge smile on my sister's face for me to say that because she was one of my tennis partners when I was young. And that's really just about me stepping into my own. So, step into your own, and I'm sure you're going to find that happiness too, because you're right. Money, unfortunately, isn't everything. It does control a big part of this world, unfortunately, but what really does matter at the end of the day is how you feel about yourself, right? And how you feel about your friends and family, the people who actually love and care about you. Nothing else matters. Like the random people down the street, you don't know, doesn't matter what they think of you, right? So really just know that your happiness starts with your heart and then slowly moves into your head, right?
That is
So whatever
totally true. That is totally
the
true.
blockage is, yeah, get it out of there.
That's
Yes.
totally true though, because I didn't find the fulfillment in life until I started chasing my dreams, started doing what I felt like I needed to do. And so I definitely want to, anybody out there that is still struggling with that, the easiest thing that you can do is take action. Just do it. And if you don't know how to do it, then you have Monica here that can help you. She can help you. I can help you. There's just so many people out there that, there's some kind of mentor, there's some kind of teacher that can help you. And there's just, and also you have more freedom. Like I truly believe that we really live in the land of opportunity. And when you take action and you choose to actually create something out of nothing and create your own abundance, I think that is super powerful. And it also empowers you to do it for other people. Like there's that saying, why close the door that someone opened for you? Why would you close it for someone else? And so I'm a big type of entrepreneurial, like I love motivating people to be entrepreneurs. I know that it's not for everyone, even though it should be, but I know that it's not everyone's cup of tea. But if you're still interested in something like, in that path, in that realm, just let me tell you, you live such a happier life because you get to own your time. You get to own, you don't have to clock in and out. You are your own boss. Like you create the life that you want. And that's a big responsibility, but there's so much freedom in it. And so, definitely, Monica, any kind of shout outs you want to give or any kind of upcoming events that you might have?
Yeah. Okay. I think my takeaway from this all is there's always going to be a sign, right? And we should always listen to the signs. So whatever the sign is, just be mindful of it, right? Or the universe is going to send you bigger, louder signs till it's annoying and you have to make the jump, right? So, and then shout out to, you for hosting me today. I really appreciate it. I'm a queen too, girl. I also call myself the ice queen because I freaking love ice. When it's hot, I just like, it's mostly ice in my cup, quite frankly. And that's how I drink less sugar, I've noticed. So thank you so much for, one queen to another. Thank you so much for having me. And then in terms of events, I'm right now mostly working online, still doing some in-person stuff, mostly local though. Haven't done anything like on a big national level, but I've been really working on a project with one of my associates building out a networking group for LGBTQ business owners, families, and friendly business owners to LGBTQ community. So we are hosting events online and in person. Like we're doing a sound healing event at a church in Katati next Friday. I'm really excited about uplifting our Israeli friend who is, the sound healer, and she's feeding us a vegetarian lunch. So if you want more info on that, follow up with me, and you feel like you can make it to Sonoma County in California, let us know. We'd love to have you. And then anything else in terms of events, I'll let you know. I'll definitely follow up with you, and hopefully you can invite some of your students.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm Jewish. I know like one Hebrew song and that's about it. I don't know very much Hebrew, but I'm learning a little bit. But I know a lot of
Beautiful.
their customs, it's different. But I just I always tell everyone I'm your Latina Jesus Jew.
Yes.
And the
Here to
reason
save the world.
yeah, that's what I tell everyone. Why? Because I'm a Latina, and I believe in Jesus, and I'm Jewish. So yeah,
Right. It's the
but
Trinity.
I mean, sure, for sure. I mean, bilingual girl, man. Yeah, like
Yes.
I can tell it to you this whole interview in Spanish, and so I definitely think that's my superpower.
I love
um,
it. No, I love it. I'm Portuguese myself, but I attract a lot of Israeli, Middle Eastern, Persian, Eastern Europeans, South Americans, all of it. Canadians. Oh yeah, yeah. It's like certain marketplaces that you just attract for whatever
yeah,
reason.
I think
Yeah,
you probably your facial features, they're very similar. That might be it.
totally.
Um, I don't know how I met you, but I'm just glad. I'm glad that you were able to come on here and share your beautiful smile and share your golden nuggets, how they say.
That's right.
So yeah, definitely. I mean, I love any kind of food, so I'm a big foodie. When it comes to being a health coach, I focus on food because, again, I love food. um, so I definitely send out recipes to my clients and just a healthier version of things.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I'm
The
excited
world is
for
changing. Yeah, it's
it
definitely a time to
really
be
is.
healthy. Yeah,
It really is. But thank
yeah.
you so much for your time. And for anybody listening, again, you can reach her on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'll leave the description I'll leave her info in the description, so you can definitely reach out to her. And so thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being part of our community. And definitely thank you to your mom for being awesome, and your dad, may he rest in peace. And definitely you're doing exactly you're living out his legacy, and I think that is definitely makes him proud. And so I didn't spend much time with my dad growing up, but I do keep in contact with him. He's actually he has dual citizenship, but he lives in Nicaragua. So um,
Nice.
just like you, I get to travel a lot because family is everywhere.
That's
So,
right.
so yeah, it's pretty awesome life to live, but it can get a little bit confusing sometimes. Like, where do I want to go today? Nah, I don't want to
I
go to.
quite frequently call myself the bag lady. Yeah, I'm unpacking to repack. Sometimes I don't unpack. I just pull the dirty clothes out and put new clothes in. I mean, what do you do? You
I
know?
mean, if that is your biggest problem, that is awesome.
Seriously. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for being here, and definitely I'll be seeing you and connecting with you offline, and maybe I'll go see you one day. I'm not sure when I'm going to go to California, but definitely we're going to have lunch and um, tell all these crazy stories that I'm sure we have in common.
Yes, I'm down. I'm down. That'd be
Or
amazing.
we could go take a trip. We could go, I don't know, Nicaragua or Costa Rica or something. I don't know. I
Yeah,
love.
both of those are on the bucket list. Honduras has like a party island called Rotan.
Oh yeah.
I've had
Oh
two
yeah.
friends go there and tell me about it. I'm like, oh yeah, we gotta go Rotan one time.
Yeah, my husband is from Honduras, and so yeah, they know how to party. Just let me
Yes,
tell you, they know how to party. So I married into a family that's very joyful.
that's good. That's
So,
good.
but thank you so much for your time, and for all of our listeners and subscribers and viewers, thank you for your time and for allowing us to be in your family and in your space. And if you have any other questions, just feel free to contact me or contact Monica. Again, peace be with you. God bless. And always, always, always remember you're loved, you're cherished, and you have a purpose for your life. And so definitely, I encourage and challenge everyone to seek that purpose. So, so thank you so much for being here, and take care, everyone. Bye.
Blessings.